Quick introductions. I'm Adam Devine. I run product marketing for Crowd Computing Systems, and I'm up here to talk briefly about what our business does, what our mission is, so that Pete can focus more time on talking about the impact we have on our customers. Your programs will probably say, the printed ones anyway, will say that we're up here to talk about machine learning. That's a lie. We're not talking about machine learning. And the reason for that is that I started writing a deck about machine learning, and it started to feel like an MIT dissertation, and I fell asleep at my desk. So we're going to talk about less about the brain and the backbone of our business, which is machine learning, and more about the heart and soul. So what is Crowd Computing Systems' mission? Businesses are dependent on an unsustainable, inefficient resource. Business process outsourcing. BPO is unsustainable because it's reliant on low wages to deliver cost savings. And the world is running out of low-cost labor markets. It is inefficient because the business model of BPO is to charge a premium on those low-cost workers. And technology has basically made that irrelevant. There's no need for middle managers managing low-cost workers. So crowdsourcing is one of the silver bullets that's going to kill BPO. And we had a whole panel about this yesterday, about the question of how you tap this emerging resource of crowdsourcing. And it's actually a really simple answer. You plug into a platform, an existing crowdsourcing platform. I dare anybody to try and build what we've built. It's super, super difficult. So as far as build versus buy, buying makes a lot more sense. Maybe I'm a little biased. So that's not all we do. We're not actually a crowdsourcing platform. There are other components that we bring in, and in fact, we were founded on the belief that it would take automation, crowdsourcing, and experts, your own employee experts, to do a complete business process. So the ultimate silver bullet for business process outsourcing, what's going to kill a $200 billion industry, is the combination of automation, crowdsourcing, and your own employee experts. So obviously we're here today to discuss crowdsourcing. So before Carl shoots me, I want to explain why crowdsourcing alone isn't the ultimate resource for enterprise business processes. Obviously it's a little contentious. Let's get into why. So when you think about the average business process at a large corporation, there's kind of three tiers of work. You have a massive volume of low complexity work that's basically repetitive. You have a moderate volume of work kind of in the middle of the work stack, of work that requires simple human judgment, human intelligence. And then you have a smaller amount of high value work that even with microtasking, which is one of the principles that we were built on, cannot be done by crowdsourced workers. It has to be done by experienced employees with editorial experience, with expertise. So the crowd is obviously great for judgment work, but it's almost inhumane to put human workers, even crowd workers, to work on repetitive tasks. And it's also inefficient. You're paying for something you don't need to pay for. It's much more efficient to bring in NLP and scrapers and then have the crowd handle exceptions that machines can't do. And at the higher end, like I said, there's no way that crowd workers can handle certain types of work. It's just never going to happen. So automation and experts really completes the ultimate talent trifecta for enterprise work. That's our principle. That's what we were built on. That's what we've been doing since we were founded. We didn't have to pivot. Incidentally, a word for BPO providers who have been talking about moving into the technology space, the platform space. To me, it kind of sounds like a personal trainer waking up one morning and saying, you know what, I'm going to become an iPhone fitness app. I'm going to become a Fitbit. You can't pivot into being a technology platform. It's just not possible. So if you remember only one thing from my brief time up here, remember two acronyms. Remember CCS, obviously, and remember ACE, automation, crowdsourcing, and employee expertise. That's the true hybrid crowd. Pete.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I'm Pete Marney. I head up professional services at CCS. And if I may, maybe just a quick word on how I came to work at CCS because I think it's an interesting story with a lot of what we've been discussing over the past couple days. I joined CCS 2.5 months ago, after 20 plus years at Thomson Reuters, where I ran information architecture, content production, and a lot of the operations, our armies of people around the world. And it was in 2012 that we had a couple of content sets that we just couldn't scale. We couldn't keep up with the volume of work that we had. There was too much demand for them. They were growing too rapidly, and we couldn't keep adding to the cube farm in India and the Philippines. And so we needed another solution. And that was where I lit upon crowd computing and brought them in as a vendor. Over the course of a year with working with them, got to know the space really well, got to know the opportunity. I really believed that this would be something that's very disruptive, and so decided to join. So I think it's kind of interesting, my progression for where we're trying to get at over these past couple days. Also, as Adam was talking about with the hybrid crowd, I was really encouraged by the discussion over the past couple days about the need for automation, crowdsourcing, and your own subject matter experts. No one of them can answer the entire equation, so you need all three, and that really does speak to our sweet spot. That is what the platform was founded on. It is how it operates, and I'll show you that in the following case study. So building directories is very similar across all kinds of domains. It doesn't matter if it's a simple travel site or a medical directory or complex company authority file that powers Wall Street. All of these people or all these activities are pulling structured and unstructured information from public and private sources and then performing some activities to either transform, enhance, normalize that data to fit into the given data model that needs to be populated. These information providers, in trying to do this, though, have struggled with rising costs and unachievable scale. The answer to date has largely been to move stuff offshore, whether captive or BPO. And as Adam said, oops, I'm breaking things. As Adam said, that's running out of runway. Consistently seeing double-digit wage inflation in low-cost centers, turnover easily running to 20%, sometimes higher. It doesn't scale as much as you need, especially with the exploding data rates we see today. So we need another solution, and the hybrid crowd can help break that model. So today we have humans doing almost all the work. But if we can smartly deploy automation, public crowd, and subject matter experts, we can break that model. We can have radically disrupt this. We can increase the scale, maintain or improve the quality, and dramatically reduce the cost. By the way, I really liked what I heard yesterday. I think it was John Hoskins that said it, that very often our clients don't know the quality of their data, right? They don't know what they're sitting on. They don't know if it's really that good or not. And we often find that when we get into engagements, that we're giving our clients more intelligence about the quality of their data than what they had on their own. So in this very simplified use case, we helped a client collect address information. And I'll walk you through some of the steps that we did for them. In reality, it was about 30 micro tasks, but I've broken it down for simplicity here just to a half a dozen. So how did we use the hybrid crowd? First, we started with using machines to pull information from public sources and also to scrape the document. Try and pre-process and present as much information to the worker as possible, like we just heard about in the DST conversation in achieving that 30% savings. Then we go to the public crowd for structuring that information into the database, doing the transformation, doing the enhancement, doing the normalization. Invariably, though, and this is a real example, the crowd comes across a square peg for the round hole, and they're not trained on how to do it. And it's a complex task, maybe something like a corporate action, a merger, or a divestiture. And so you don't necessarily want to train that public crowd worker in a micro task how to do that, because it's that high-value editorial ad that we talked about. So on our platform, you can route that directly to an expert, to a subject matter expert that's an employee of your firm, who can be equipped in handling these complex tasks. Once that corporate action is dealt with, then it's very easy to pass the work back to the public crowd seamlessly on the platform to complete the rest of the information record. So we can deploy all three constituents, the machine, public crowd, and subject matter expert at the same time on the same platform. And then let's talk a little bit about scale. Rarely is the work that we do, or that any of us do, is it linear and consistent, right? There's always peaks and troughs. And you tend not to staff for the peaks, right? Because that's entirely too expensive and inefficient. So you probably staff more around where the troughs are. And then when you have the peaks, either timeliness suffers or overtime skyrockets. With the hybrid crowd, though, it's nearly infinitely scalable and highly elastic. So you can react very rapidly to the peaks and troughs that you have. You're not paying during the troughs, and you react very quickly to the peaks, which you can't do with BPO or captive. And that is it. I think we'll turn it over to Q&A. And also just draw attention to this landing page that we have with some white papers and information about us, and also a special pilot offer, if anyone's interested.
Okay. That was a very interesting chart that you just showed in regards to the actual allocation of work in regards to demand and, how do you accurately forecast that, and what types of proprietary tools do you actually use to actually staff that? Because that's a very interesting chart to a lot of people, because obviously there's a lot of money lost during the peaks in terms of revenue potentially, and also during the valleys in the overstaffed types of costs that you would have to expend. So the question really is, how do you account for those slivers of time, and how do you staff to them to ensure that you're following that profile across that time interval?
Sure, and by the way, this is actually an anonymized but real graph where someone, one of our clients goes from 0 to 3,500 workers in an hour to match their demand. Several ways that we do it. On the platform, we have the concept or the ability of qualifying workers. So you generally have a pretty good sense of what your volume of work is going to be. So you qualify workers commensurately to the volume that you're expecting, whether at the peaks or the troughs. And then the platform has the ability to message workers. So if someone has been qualified to do address normalization work for you, and you have work that you're putting out onto the platform for address normalization, we can message those workers and attract them to come in to come do the work. We also have the ability to give higher qualifications to people that have done consistently high quality, high volume work for us. And so then we can have them actually perform QA work on other crowd workers and things like that. So it's really, although the workers are anonymous, we can uniquely identify them, and you can message directly with them in the crowd through the platform. And similarly, they can message us as well, which has proven to be really helpful when you think your instructions are clear, but they might be a little bit vague, or there might be edge cases that you didn't account for. And to be able to hear that from the workers is hugely helpful.
Most of the crowd platforms that you mentioned, and most of the ones that I'm aware of, they make money by which is a fraction of all the crowd work that happens in the system. Since you are in a business that is also trying to automate that, how do you price work?
So it's a great question, and we don't charge any markup or any freight on the crowd work. We facilitate the payment through our platform, but it's just passed through. Matter of fact, we are philosophically opposed to that kind of markup because, as you say, it disincentivizes you from the automation. So it's a very simple license fee for the platform itself. And then we have a concept of usage for what we call crowd computing units. So we don't care if the task is an automation task, a public crowd worker, or a subject matter expert. And then you just license for the amount of volume you need for CCUs that you consume.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much.